Hey guys, Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks. Behind me I have an all-electric eCrafter from Volkswagen. When they asked if I wanted to check it out, I said absolutely, send it over the week that I have to move flats in Berlin, because it is perfect for that. As soon as I put it on Instagram, all of my friends reached out to me and said, hey, I have to move a table, I have to move a giant sewing machine, I have to move some equipment. It's amazing. Everyone comes out of the woodwork and needs to borrow the van. But it has a range of 116 kilometers. And at the end of about 4 people borrowing it and 3 trips between my old flat and my new flat, I've got about 30 kilometers left. And it kind of has me asking the question, does an electric transporter actually make any sense? Electric vehicles represent a very small portion of the overall market. Electric vans, even more so. But as cities try to become more green and cities like London put restrictions and extra costs on driving older vehicles into city centers, it's going to make sense for a lot of businesses to maybe adopt a greener solution. So let's start with some of the advantages of going electric.
Going electric is more eco-friendly, but I think you're going to need more than that. Running costs are cheaper than diesel, not just in the fuel cost, but in maintenance as well. Electric engines have fewer moving parts. You're also going to find a lot of buying incentives, which is further going to reduce the cost of turning your fleet electric. But what about when you're actually driving them? They run silent, which is nice if you're doing jobs into the late hours. And I think this is the most important, they're extremely fun to drive. Electric engines are peppy and responsive, and they have higher speeds from stop, and no manual gearbox. And when it comes to appearances, your business will look more socially conscious.
But of course, there is a downside. The most obvious is the charging. It takes way longer to charge an electric car than it does to gas up a petrol one. And of course, they're not as convenient to charge.
One additional cost you shouldn't overlook is that you're going to have to install electric charging stations at your business. This is one of the reasons why you're getting the incentives. And of course, there is the charge times. Rapid DC charging will get you 80% in 40 minutes, but this is still much longer than going to a gas pump. And if you're buying used, you're going to have to worry about the battery losing performance over time. So check to see how many cycles the battery has been through. The value of the van will also drop faster than its diesel counterpart due to the uncertainty of the EV market.
To know if an electric van is right for you, there are a few things to consider. Take a look at what the rebates look like. It will make a lot of electric vehicle purchases extremely attractive. Now, the other thing is maybe the cities that you're operating in are going to put in additional taxes. Like London, if you enter the city center with an older vehicle, you're going to have to pay a lot more money. And a lot of major cities are trying to figure out how to have less cars in them and how to have the cars that are there be a lot more green. And then of course, it's the biggest concern is always fear of range. So 116 kilometers isn't that much. You need to know what your fleet does. How far do you normally drive your car? So you need to be using a tracker to know exactly what your trips look like. And then from there, you'll be able to make a decision. Because 116 kilometers is pretty good, but your use case may not fit the range of an EV. So it's definitely something to consider. So the question isn't so simple. Does it make sense? Of course it makes sense. For a lot of specific use cases, it's going to make sense. So I guess the question is it going to make sense for you? Let me know in the comments. I'm always curious to hear what you guys have to say. I'm your host, Nicole Scott for Mobile Geeks.